Hello everyone, in this video we will be continuing with our shooter AI tutorial. We will create a variation on our previous behavior just to mix things up a bit. At the end of this video our AI will be patrolling the area, however on site he will get behind the cover nearest to him. He will hide behind this cover and shoot at us. If he doesn't spot us when we shoot him, he will get hurt and get behind cover as well. In order to achieve this we will need Unity 2019.3.5 or higher, Game Creator itself, and we will need the behavior, stats, and shooter module. What I will be showing here today is one of the ways to do things, but there are many other ways to achieve the same. The goal here is to create a base from which we can expand upon if needed. So let's dive in. Now before setting up our scene, I'm going to go over what we're trying to achieve here. So we have our character, we have several cover objects, and we have our patrol area. So when I hit play, our character will be patrolling just like in the previous video. He will walk around and he has a really short line of sight, so that's why he didn't spot us. Now when we hit our AI, he will get hurt and he will hide behind cover. Once he's behind cover, he will engage in combat. And there we go. Really simple, really straightforward. So I will show you how to achieve this. So now we're going to set up our scene. So this is the scene we set up in our last tutorial. So we had our character, he patrolled the area, he took damage, he got hurt, etc. So we want to keep a lot of that, but we'll change a lot of it as well. So let's just duplicate this scene, and I'm going to call it, oh, not delete, rename, 01 tutorial cover. You can obviously change it to whatever you want. So the reason I'm duplicating this and I'm not editing the existing one is because I'm going to create a new behavior tree. I don't want to override the existing one because this AI simply behaves in a different way. Now we have all of the same things we had in our last scene, because we will reuse quite a bit of it. Now we're going to create our cover first. So let's create our cover. Let's call it cover. So this will be the first one. Now our cover needs to be a bit wider than that. As you can see, I'm using ProGrids, which is a free Unity asset. I would recommend everyone to use this. It's a lot easier to align objects. So there we go. I want it to be exactly in the middle of our scene here, of our little block here. Perfect. So we have 4 on each side, yes, and 4 on each side. Perfect. So now we're going to add our trigger here. So let's rename this and let's call it cover trigger. I'm using a box collider here because I wanted to cover the entire square. There we go. Now our trigger covers the entire square. Now let's add our trigger component, and we're going to change this on trigger enter. So when our character enters this trigger, something will happen. Now let's set up actions for him. Perfect. Now the way this works is that the behavior tree will always supersede any other actions we can give our character. So in order for this to work, we need to stop the behavior tree from working. So the moment this box will trigger, it will stop all of his behavior trees. So this will make a lot more sense a bit later on, but for now let's just set it up like this. So our character's behavior tree. Now we haven't set that up yet, but this will make a lot of sense a bit later on. Now our cover obviously has some triggers, he has actions, but he needs markers as well, because our AI needs to know exactly where to go to. So in our trigger, so our cover trigger, we will set up a new folder. Let's call it, there we go. And we're just going to call it getting cover, please. Now here I'm going to set up different markers. So get in. And the reason for this is because our AI unfortunately isn't all that smart. So the moment he will collide with, if our marker would be here and our AI is standing here, this box will actually just stop him from getting there and he will just do nothing anymore. So that's quite annoying. So we wanted to make sure that he will be able to get in cover. So we're going to set up some additional triggers, so that way if he's actually standing here, he will walk here and get behind cover. Now this might not be the best way of doing this, but I've really tried and haven't found a single other way to make him a bit smarter. Maybe there is, and then please correct me. Now all of this obviously will work really fast because he'll run, so he'll go through these markers in not even a second. So it seems a bit exaggerated, but it actually goes really fast. Now we want this to be nice in the middle. We want him to obviously face this direction, and that's where he'll stay behind. Cool, now let's go back to our actions, and our first action will be move. So we want our character to move to a marker, and this will be the first one. And let's duplicate this, and this will be the second one. Duplicate this as well. And you might have guessed, one last time. So he will quickly go through all of these settings. It will happen super fast, so it seems a bit exaggerated right now, but it all goes really fast. So once he's behind cover, we want something to happen. So once he gets behind cover, we want him to actually crouch. So there's two different ways of calling in state. So change default state or just state. Default state happens instantaneously, so there's no transition, which doesn't look that great. So we'll use the normal state. And our character will change to the crouch state. So there's a transition time, which means it will look pretty smooth. You can change the speed, of course. Now, once he's behind cover, we already want him to reload his weapon before we call the actions. That's simply because if he wouldn't reload before taking any actions, the first time he will pop out of cover, he will still have to reload, which doesn't look that great. And now we will execute our combat actions. So let's drag that in, and let's select wait to finish. There we go. Perfect. Now our combat actions are the ones we set up last time, so I'm going to remove all of them because this time our character is doing something completely different. And we're going to set up some new actions for our character. So let's change his state again. Let's go. There we go. Simply because we're going to obviously loop this, so we want him to go back into the crouch position at the end of this. Yeah, our character. And we want him to crouch. Perfect. So at the end of the loop, he'll go back to crouching. Now we want him to wait a bit while he's behind cover, so let's give him a 2-second wait. And then while he's behind cover, he will already rotate towards our character. Now you don't have to do this, but the reason I'm doing this is simply because it's slightly faster. It looks a bit better, otherwise he looks really dumb, just, you know, looking in the wrong direction. Just because he's behind cover doesn't mean he has no idea what's going on. Now we want to change his state again, so I'll just copy paste that, and this time we want to change his state to aiming. So he's ready for combat now, he's going to aim. So he will stand up. Again, there's a transition time, so it looks pretty smooth. And I'm going to add a small wait. And you will see a couple of these 0.5 second waits. Reason for that is because it will make him slightly less accurate. Now you don't have to do this, but if you have no waits in here at all, he will be a perfect shot. And well, quite frankly, he will not miss, which is no fun to me. If you want him to be a perfect shot, then please, by all means, go ahead. We want him to make sure we rotate towards our character again, because now, so if we would have moved, he will have to re-aim towards us. So he will rotate towards the character again. Now this is one of the most important weights, because this one actually determines how accurate he is while moving. If you do not have this, he will not miss. If you lower this, he has a lower chance to miss. If you make this a 1 second, he will most definitely miss if you walk around a bit. Just going to leave it at this for now, and then we're going to have him shoot. So this is the delay before aiming at us and actually shooting at us. Now I'm going to smooth this and have him stop aiming. Aim. So he will stop aiming. And then at the end of this, we're going to restart all of these actions, and that's why we had the crouch at the beginning again. Perfect. So these are our actions all set up. We have our first cover set up as well, which looks completely fine. And we have our markers. Perfect. So now we're actually going to disable this, because the trigger to get behind cover will not be enabled as of yet. So this will only enable the trigger to actually perform these actions once he either spots us or gets shot. Otherwise, it would stop his behavior immediately. Now, the moment he gets shot or sees us, we want the rest of the behaviors to stop so he can get behind cover. So let's set up his behavior tree. So last time we had our shooter AI, so this time we're going to create a completely new one. I don't want to change the existing one because I still want there to be characters that just argo at us and just try to take us out. So let's create a completely new one. So let's call this cover AI. This behavior tree will actually be a lot simpler than the last one, a lot shorter. It will take a lot less time to set up because a lot of the actions actually take place with the cover triggers themselves. So let's create a new root, selector again, and we want there to be 3 tasks yet again. Perfect. So let's already set up our patrol task. See, so if he cannot see us, he will patrol the area. Now this time I want to actually have him armed while patrolling the area, simply because, well, it's slightly better for him to be armed in general, but we still need to set up that he can run first. That he can't run, actually, sorry. So we don't want him to run, he's patrolling. And now we're going to give him ammo. I'm going to give him 50 bullets again. There we go. We're going to give him a revolver. So let's give him a revolver. Perfect. And let's have him wait again. Let's do the restart. Now, perfect, he has everything he needs. So if he doesn't see us, he will patrol just like last time. Let's actually give him the possibility to perform those tasks. So execute actions. There we go. Let's call this after he draws the revolver. And let's have him patrol the area. So we're going to create a variable. We got patrolling, please. Maybe it's a bit exaggerated, but you know. So let's add the parameter and let's have him get patrolling. Perfect. Now if he, let's already copy this one over. If he can see us, there we go. Now if he can see us, he will obviously be able to run, because we don't want him to just stroll around if he's going to go into combat. And now, unlike last time, he's not going to follow us or do anything like that. He will still, you know, wave at us, because I think it's fun. We don't have to do this. I think it's interesting. State, yeah, we want him to wave. He will yet again shout stop at us. There we go. And I think it was about 0.9 last time as well. We don't want this to complete, we want this to happen simultaneously. And now what we're going to do is we're going to activate our triggers. So trigger cover 1. Oh, set active, apologies. So let's set the trigger to active. We need a local variable again. Trigger cover 1. So we need him to trigger that. Let's already create these variables. Because we're going to set up 4. I know we don't have them as of yet, but there's 4 we are going to set up. Cool. And let's just duplicate this. So now it's the second one. Now it's the third one. You could have actually grouped all of these together in one inactive group. I don't know why I didn't do that, but that's fine. And give it a bit of time to actually set all of them active, and that's it. That's all we're going to do, because in the beginning we actually set that once these triggers are active, he will stop our behavior. So there's no need to add anything else, because everything else happens in cover. Now for this one it will actually be quite similar. So if he gets hurt, we're going to perform pretty much the same tasks here. So if his health value, so our invoker, his health value is less than 100%, he will perform these actions. So we'll have him wait a bit. You know, he needs to realize he's hurt. Let's just copy, can run over. I don't know if this is actually faster. Seems like it. Now we want to change his state again. So we're playing around a bit with the states because it's actually quite fun. Didn't really look at it last time. But this time when he gets shot, we want him to actually be hurt. Because, well, you know, it hurts to get shot, I imagine. So let's actually tell us he is hurt as well. So ouch. And yes, I'm using ouch because I have a voice sample for that. Don't blame me. Can't imagine that taking more than a second to say. Let's hope it doesn't. And now we actually want to do exactly the same as in the last one. So we just want to activate all of those triggers because he's going into cover yet again. Okay, duplicated them all. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Perfect. And then let's add the wait. I'm not even sure if the wait will even trigger because we called him to stop, but just got into the habit of doing this, I guess. And that's it. That's our entire behavior tree. So we're not actually calling any other actions here, simply because those will be stopped the moment those triggers are active. So let's save this and go back to our scene. Now we only have one cover set up here, so let's duplicate this one. I just want to make sure everything is actually in here, so let me double check. So we have our trigger. On trigger, enter. And we have our markers. Okay, they're set up correctly. Yeah, okay. Now let's give this a go. Let's duplicate this one. We'll call it 2. It's in the middle. Let's duplicate these again. Oh. Well, this is not going that great. And this should be about the middle as well. It's not entirely the middle. There we go. And yeah, we have 4 on each side. Perfect. Let's rename these. So this is cover 3 and 4. Now the way this works is they all have their own triggers. So because we didn't set up where he should go in our behavior tree, the trigger will decide where he should go. So that means that if he's in this box, this will trigger and will tell him to go here. If he's in this box, this will trigger and will tell him to go here. Now, I think that's a bit more interesting than there just being a predefined cover for him to go to. There might be better ways to set this up, and if you know, please let me know as well. But I was really struggling to have him get behind objects without just getting stuck, so that's why I set up these additional triggers. If there's a way not to have to do this, I will gladly listen to your advice. So now we have all of our triggers. Now we need to set those up. So we have our patrol. Oh wait, how about actually setting up our new cover AI? That might help. So we have our patrol. We have our first trigger we need to activate, our second trigger, our third one, and yeah, the more I think about this, I should have just grouped them together. Anyway, so now we have all of our triggers set up. We still have our health, so all of that is fine. We still have everything we set up in the last scene. I'm going to modify our patrol. I'm going to cheat a bit. Because I don't want him to actually get out of this area. Let's just move this one. So my triggers were set up in these squares, so I don't want him to get out of that area, because otherwise he will not trigger anything because he's no longer there. Wow, that was really far off. 5th marker, let's drag that in this area, and the 6th marker, let's drag this in this area. Perfect. So we don't need these previous markers we set up, so shot marker, view marker, so I'm just going to remove those. If you want to combine that with everything we just created, obviously please feel free to do so. And I think that's it. Well, let's see if that was it. So let's save our scene here and see what actually happens. So as you can see, while patrolling, he's already grabbing his weapon. He doesn't see us because he still has that shitty field of view. But we did that on purpose. Let's shoot our guy.
Ouch!
He's hurt, gets behind cover, and like I mentioned, that happens really fast. It seemed to take a while, but it doesn't. And yes, he's not the best shot, but I'm not the best shot either. Well, there you go. Now let's try to replicate this and see what happens if he just simply sees us. So let's just go greet him straight away. Hello,
Stop!
friend. Stop. Okay, well, you're behind cover. And you're going to try to shoot us. And again, changing that weight before he shoots determines how accurate he will actually be. Right now he's not accurate at all, so maybe I overdid it a bit, but there you go. Cover shooter set up. In the next tutorial we will set up a sniper AI that uses cover as well in a tower. We're going to play with the states as well. So please hit like and subscribe, and see you next time.